Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas and today we're going to be diving into the Smart Scale feature on the M-Audio Oxygen Pro. Smart Scale is a really nice feature if maybe keyboard isn't your primary instrument, but you need to lay down some tracks. You can pick the key, you can pick the scale that you want it to stick to, and it'll keep all of the notes within that scale. Pretty handy. If you're learning piano and you want to learn the scales, go ahead. I encourage you to learn scales. It's good to stretch yourself. It's good to learn scales in the different keys and the different types of scales, majors, minors. There's a lot of different scales out there. So push yourself to learn, but if it's not your primary instrument and you just need to lay down some tracks, get it done with, you can use Smart Scale to keep the notes that you play within the key and the scale that you choose. That being said, there's a couple of different ways that keyboard manufacturers go about the Smart Scale feature. Some controllers will mute the notes that are not within the scale, and other controllers, the M-Audio Oxygen Pro included in that, will duplicate the notes. So as you play, if you hit a wrong note, it's actually going to play a note, but it's going to pick the note closest to the one that you played wrong, and it's going to bump it down or up to the correct note within that scale. It comes down to a personal preference on which one you prefer. I've seen some people out there that prefer the way of muting the notes. I actually prefer the duplicate because maybe I'm playing a chord and I hit a wrong note within the notes in my chord. I actually wanted that note to play, and so by duplicating, it's actually going to play that note for me, even though I'm not hitting the correct key within the scale. That being said, let's go ahead and turn scale mode on. And to do this, you're going to double tap on the chord scale button. The light's going to blink, which tells us we're in scale mode. And we can go into the edit menu by holding shift and tapping the button again. Then scroll over and select edit scale. And we've got three parameters that we can modify for the scale mode. We can choose the key we're playing in, the scale we want, and then the split point. So I'm not going to split my keyboard because I only have the 25 key version. You could do that on the larger one and only have scale mode turned on for part of your keyboard. Let's go back and talk about scale for a second. So out of the box, the Oxygen Pro defaults to the pentatonic major scale. You're going to want to change that unless you're playing in the pentatonic major scale. We're going to go over to the major scale, which is most likely you're going to be playing in a major or a minor scale. Then let's scroll over and choose our key. So in the key of C, the scale would be, let's go ahead and make that a key of D, which allows us to have a couple of flats in there. So I'm going to exit the menu and I'm going to turn off scale mode. And I'm just going to play the major scale in the key of D. We could also play a major D chord. So let's turn scale mode back on and play the same major scale in the key of D. Also play the major chord. Now notice what happens if I play a D minor chord. Sounds exactly the same. So what it's doing is it's taking this minor note here and it's actually bumping it up to the G flat where it should be. So I could play the correct D major or a D minor, and I'm going to get the same result. So this is nice. Maybe you're going and you're playing and accidentally you hit a D minor note when you're coming. So there I played the D minor. Sounds great because it bumped it up. If this was set up to mute the notes, I would have got this result. It would have left out the minor there instead of duplicating the G flat to that minor position. So in my opinion, again, it's nice to have it duplicate the notes because if I'm playing chords, so there I'm playing a G minor, but it's actually snapping it to the G. I just played a whole bunch of wrong notes in there. If I played that same thing without scale mode on, sounds horrible. So you can see scale mode actually is doing quite a bit there. Play that same thing. so much better. So if you're not up on your scales, you want to make sure the notes you're playing are right. Doesn't matter what I play, always in the scale of D major. So let's go into our edit menu and change this over to a minor scale. So I'm going to go over to my scale and find minor, and I'm going to change my key to maybe the key of A. I'm going to get an A minor scale here. Played a whole bunch of wrong notes there. Sounds perfect. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of how Smart Scale works, how it works specifically in the M-Audio Oxygen Pro compared to maybe other controllers that are out there. And as you can see, there's really not a lot to it. Simple parameters where you just choose the key and the scale. And if you want, you could choose a split point by turning it on. It's going to ask you for the first note of the split zone, the last note of the split zone, and then if you wanted to change the MIDI channel that zone itself would send to, you could change that here as well. If you've got questions, throw them in the comments below. Be on the lookout for the Smart Chord video coming really soon. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that when it comes out. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.